Hello and welcome to Inside the Americas here on France 24. I'm Rochelle Harrison-Pless. Coming up on today's show. Brazilian leader Dilma Rousseff fights down to the wire for her political survival amid impeachment proceedings that threaten to topple her. It's a miracle after more than a week of devastating wildfires. The leader of Canada's Alberta province says that Fort McMurray was largely spared. And the US federal government versus the state of North Carolina. The pair are suing each other over the rights of transgender people amid a controversial so-called bathroom law. But first, chaos reigns in Brazil, where embattled President Dilma Rousseff is fighting for her political survival. The Senate is voting on whether to launch an impeachment trial. If the move gets the green light, Rousseff will be suspended for 6 months as her political future is decided. The Brazilian leader has accused her opponents of trying to stage a coup and has taken her appeal to the country's Supreme Court. Olivia Salazar-Winspear takes a look at the possible outcomes of this crucial vote.
Despite a last-minute plea to the Supreme Court, voting is going ahead to decide on Dilma Rousseff's immediate future as president of Brazil. With many experts judging her impeachment as a foregone conclusion, a number of scenarios are still on the table. If more than half of the Senate votes to launch her impeachment trial, Rousseff will be suspended and will have to vacate the presidential palace immediately. In this case, Vice President Michel Temer will take over as interim president for the duration of the proceedings, more or less 6 months. If at the end of that trial, 2/3 of senators find Rousseff to be guilty, she'll be removed from office permanently. Temer will stay in place as president until elections scheduled for 2018. If, on the other hand, the allegations against her are thrown out by the Senate, she'll be reinstated. Yet if Wednesday's vote in the Senate fails to secure a clear majority to launch the trial, Rousseff will stay, although with her approval ratings at an all-time low and fierce opposition in Congress, governing would be near impossible. Brazil's first female president could also choose to step down of her own volition, a highly unlikely scenario given her resolve in recent weeks.
Many times, even today, they wanted me to step down. But stepping down has never crossed my mind.
Rousseff's automatic successor, Temer, could have his spell in power cut short because of links to scandals within his PMDB party. Although not directly under investigation, his critics suggest that he too should be questioned regarding corruption within the state oil giant Petrobras. With just 2% of popular support, Temer could be in a weak position to lead the country, even on an interim basis. Rousseff had asked the Supreme Court to block proceedings against her, but many now believe her appeal will be in vain.
An impeachment process is a political process. It's not the judges that are going to judge Dilma Rousseff, it's the senators. But the Supreme Court has already said that it cannot infringe on the powers of the legislative branch. So probably they will say the same thing now, and it won't happen. It will keep going on the legislative branch, on the Senate.
As those in Brasilia choose their camp, observers say many of Brazil's unresolved social and political issues are being reignited, a vote that's become symbolic of a government and of a country divided.
Despite more than a week of massive wildfires that have ravaged parts of Canada, the leader of Alberta province says it's a miracle that the city of Fort McMurray was largely spared. Around 90% of the oil sands town remains intact. Authorities earlier this week said they reached a turning point in the battle to get the blaze under control. Amid a dip in temperatures and some light rain, Mother Nature seemed to give firefighters a helping hand. Delano de Souza has more.
Devastation as far as the eye can see. Wildfires entirely destroyed this neighborhood of Fort McMurray in the Canadian province of Alberta. Residents here had to leave their homes in under 30 minutes, and now only remnants can be seen. Electronics, furniture, nothing was spared. According to Alberta's Prime Minister, over 2,000 households have been destroyed.
The city was surrounded by an ocean of fire only a few days ago. But Fort McMurray and the surrounding communities have been saved, and they will be rebuilt.
With 2 neighborhoods burned to the ground, Fort McMurray was saved by firefighters even though the city was evacuated. The views from above are indeed impressive, and these images demonstrate how firefighters didn't allow the fire to spread to residential areas. The change in the wind pattern also helped them save the city. The distinction can be made by simply looking at the greenery. Yet without electricity and water, it will be weeks before the city's 100,000 evacuees are able to return to their homes.
I'm going to look for a place to rent short-term and try and find some work, whatever I can do here, until we can have a chance to get back home.
The recent wildfires have been the most severe in Canadian history. Residents have dubbed it the Beast because it wreaked havoc along its path. Around 4 billion euros of damage has been caused by the wildfires, and 200,000 hectares of forest have been destroyed. Alberta is known for its energy-rich oil sands region, and while the fire caused many sites to scale down their crude oil production, it's now moved away from the zones considered most at risk.
Next, it's a showdown. In one corner, the US federal government, in the other, the state of North Carolina. The pair have locked horns over the rights of transgender people, both launching rival lawsuits. Well, it comes amid a controversial so-called bathroom law that sparked outrage when it was passed back in March. The move obliges people to use public bathrooms according to the gender listed on their birth certificate. But as Haxi Myers-Belkin explains, it's not just the old North state that's found itself in hot water.
In North Carolina, a normally private act has become a very public symbol for the rights of transgender people. In March, the state became the first to pass a law obliging them to use public toilets that correspond to their biological gender. They say it's to protect women from sexual predators. Last week, North Carolina was ordered by the federal government to abandon the law. Instead, the state governor filed a lawsuit against the Justice Department.
Now, right now, the Obama administration is bypassing Congress by attempting to rewrite the law and set basic restroom policies, locker room policies, and even shower policies for public and private employers across the country.
The government then countersued, denouncing the law as discriminatory and unenforceable.
They created state-sponsored discrimination against transgender individuals who simply seek to engage in the most private of functions in a place of safety and security, a right taken for granted by most of us.
The backlash to North Carolina's law has been extensive. PayPal and Deutsche Bank have both abandoned plans for expansion in the state. The NBA has threatened to move its All-Star game out of North Carolina, and stars including Bruce Springsteen have cancelled concerts there. The debate over LGBT rights is by no means limited to North Carolina. Last month, the governor of Mississippi signed into law a wide-reaching measure that allows businesses to refuse to serve gay people on religious grounds. The American Civil Liberties Union has filed a lawsuit that aims to rule it unconstitutional.
It's allowing even state officials to use their own personal beliefs to discriminate against the public they're supposed to serve.
The current rush to write up laws protecting religious freedoms, notably in America's more conservative southern states, comes in response to the US Supreme Court legalizing gay marriage last year.
Now, most teenagers these days can be found surfing the net or perhaps playing video games. Not this next 15-year-old who may have discovered a forgotten Mayan city deep in the Mexican jungle. Relying on satellite images and Mayan astronomy, the Canadian teens find may reveal even more secrets of this fascinating ancient civilization. Alexander Orcott tells us more.
A teenager from Quebec, obsessed with both Maya civilization and also astronomy. Two passions that could have led William, at just 15 years old, to have discovered a lost city, hidden for more than 2,000 years. It could well resemble these already discovered wonders of the world in the south of Mexico. These pyramids deep within the jungle are in the state of Yucatan, where the highly sophisticated people once flourished. Maya culture revolved around astronomy, The movements of the sun, moon, planets and stars were meticulously recorded by their religious leaders. So William believes this must have been important when deciding where to build their settlements. While testing his theory, he discovered there was one place missing from the map that would have completed the triangle on the Orion constellation.
It lacked the star of safe that would be represented by a site, but there was nothing. So I thought, is it me who's not found the right place? Is it somewhere else?
From his bedroom, he scanned satellite images online, and this is where he made his breakthrough.
I searched with Google Earth and I found a few signs that really convinced me that there's a Mayan site.
Soon after, satellite observations from the Canadian Space Agency seemed to confirm what William believes. While he's not yet sure he's found El Dorado, this aspiring archaeologist is hoping for the chance to travel to the site himself to see if he's right.
And more than 500 athletes from 14 different nations are battling it out at the Invictus Games in Orlando. The competition for wounded war veterans, and now in its second year, was founded by Britain's Prince Harry. With sports ranging from archery to powerlifting and wheelchair tennis, the event aims to act as a healing tool for those ex-servicemen and women who are recovering from physical and mental trauma. The first gold medal of the Games was awarded to France. That's it for this edition of Inside the Americas. Thanks for watching, and see you next week for all the news from north to south.